The campsite was perfect, a secluded spot deep in the forest, surrounded by towering trees and the soft hum of nature. As dusk settled, the friends gathered around the campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. Laughter filled the air as they shared ghost stories and roasted marshmallows, the forest's tranquility wrapping around them like a warm blanket. But as the night deepened, an eerie glow caught their attention. Strange, glowing orbs of light appeared in the distance, hovering silently between the trees. Curiosity piqued, they exchanged glances and decided to investigate, their playful banter replaced by hushed excitement. Grabbing their flashlights, they ventured into the woods, the orbs seemingly guiding them further away from the safety of their camp. The forest grew darker, the air colder, as the friends followed the mysterious lights. The comforting sounds of their campsite faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. With each step, an uneasy feeling gnawed at the back of their minds, but the allure of the glowing orbs was irresistible. Little did they know, their innocent curiosity was leading them into a nightmarish trap, where the forest's true intent lay in wait. The glowing orbs floated ahead, casting a spectral glow that illuminated the dense forest. The friends, entranced by their ethereal beauty, followed without hesitation. As they ventured deeper, the air grew colder, the shadows lengthening and twisting into menacing shapes. The once familiar sounds of the forest faded, replaced by an eerie, unsettling silence. Their initial excitement gave way to a growing sense of unease. The forest seemed to close in around them, the trees now looming like silent sentinels. Compasses spun wildly, their needles refusing to settle, and GPS devices blinked out, leaving them with no sense of direction. The friends exchanged worried glances, the realization sinking in, they were hopelessly lost. Panic set in as the glowing orbs danced just out of reach, leading them further into the unknown. Each step was heavy with dread, the forest's atmosphere thick with foreboding. The once playful journey had turned into a nightmare, their nerves fraying with every passing moment. The friends could feel an unseen presence watching, waiting, as the lights guided them deeper into the malevolent heart of the forest. The chilling realization hit them like a tidal wave, they were hopelessly lost. The once familiar forest now morphed into a sinister maze, its shadows deepening, trees twisting into grotesque shapes. The glowing orbs of light, their only guide, seemed to mock them as they flickered and danced, leading the friends further into the abyss. Panic set in, hearts pounding in sync with the accelerating dread. They tried to retrace their steps, but the forest had other plans. Paths that seemed clear moments before now vanished, replaced by impenetrable thickets. The air grew thick with an almost palpable menace, as if the forest itself had come alive with malevolent intent. Desperation clawed at their minds. Every attempt to find the way back only led them in circles, the eerie lights always just ahead, always out of reach. Whispers of the unseen seemed to echo through the trees, heightening their terror. The friends' rational thoughts disintegrated, replaced by a primal fear. Trapped in the forest's relentless grip, they realized the true horror, they might never escape. As night fell, the forest seemed to exhale a breath of icy dread. The air grew colder, each exhalation a puff of vapor, visible under the pale moonlight. The glowing orbs intensified, casting sinister shadows that twisted and writhed like living creatures. The once serene environment was now oppressive, each step laden with foreboding. The friends huddled together, their breath quickening as the darkness deepened. The lights, once mesmerizing, now felt like malevolent eyes watching their every move. Fear crawled up their spines as an unseen presence seemed to stalk them, the hairs on their necks prickling in response. Every rustle in the underbrush, every creak of the trees, amplified their terror. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily, each heartbeat echoing loudly in the suffocating silence. The forest, with its ancient, unfathomable secrets, seemed alive with a menacing intent, determined to keep its unwilling guests trapped in its dark embrace. The friends' nerves frayed further as the oppressive night dragged on, each moment a relentless assault on their sanity. Desperation drove the friends to frantic measures. They scoured the forest for a way out, leaving markers on trees and arranging stones in patterns, anything to guide them back to safety. Signals for help went unanswered, the thick canopy swallowing their cries and dimming their flares. The sinister glow of the lights was a constant reminder of their dire situation, always hovering at the edge of their vision. False hope flickered as they stumbled upon what seemed like a familiar path. The tension eased momentarily, and they allowed themselves to believe they might escape. But the forest had other plans. The lights grew nearer, their malevolent glow casting long, menacing shadows that danced with each step. The path twisted impossibly, leading them in circles, and the friends realized with mounting horror that the forest wouldn't let them go. The once hopeful markers were now cruel reminders of their entrapment. The oppressive atmosphere grew thicker, each breath a struggle. Panic set in, their frantic attempts to escape only deepening their entanglement in the forest's eerie grasp. It was a relentless, living nightmare, and the friends were its unwilling captives. Driven to the brink of madness, the friends decided that running was no longer an option. Gathering what courage remained, they turned to face the glowing orbs that had haunted their every step. The lights hovered closer, their luminescence almost blinding in the oppressive darkness of the forest. As they approached, the air grew thicker, charged with an otherworldly energy. The friends steeled themselves, hearts pounding in unison, and stepped into the circle of lights. The forest seemed to hold its breath as if watching the confrontation unfold. Suddenly, the glowing orbs flickered and converged, revealing an ancient, supernatural force. Wisps of ethereal energy swirled, coalescing into a spectral figure, the embodiment of the will-o'-the-wisps legend. The friends were confronted with the true horror of the forest, a malevolent spirit, bound to the woods by a curse older than time itself. Their fear gave way to understanding. This force was the guardian of the forest, luring the lost into its depths. With newfound resolve, the friends spoke to the spirit, acknowledging its power and pleading for mercy. The spectral figure wavered, the forest's grip loosening, as if responding to their desperate pleas. In that moment of revelation, the ancient curse began to break. The friends felt a pathway open, a chance for escape. They stumbled out of the forest, the haunting lights fading into the darkness behind them, leaving the legend of the will-o'-the-wisps a chilling memory. With their newfound understanding, the friends gathered the last shreds of their courage. The forest's grip had loosened, and they felt a path opening, guided by the spectral figure's wavering presence. Summoning all their strength, they moved with purpose, breaking free from the sinister glow of the orbs. The once impenetrable thickets now parted, offering a precarious escape route. Each step was a battle against the exhaustion that threatened to overwhelm them. The air grew warmer, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as they neared the forest's edge. Their hearts pounded with a mix of fear and hope, the malevolent whispers fading into the background. Finally, they stumbled out of the forest, the morning sun casting a soft, welcoming light. They collapsed onto the ground, physically and mentally shattered, the weight of their ordeal pressing heavily on their bodies. Relief washed over them, their breaths ragged but filled with gratitude. The nightmare was over, yet the memory of the glowing lights and the forest's menacing intent would forever haunt their dreams. The friends were alive, but they would never forget the chilling encounter with the will-o'-the-wisps, a legend that had become all too real. The friends emerged from the forest forever changed, their faces etched with the haunted look of survivors who had glimpsed the abyss. The glowing lights, once mesmerizing, were now the stuff of their darkest nightmares. Nights were no longer a refuge but a battleground of memories that refused to stay buried. Sleep came fitfully, disturbed by dreams of spectral orbs and whispering shadows. They carried the scars of their ordeal, both visible and unseen. Each flicker of light, every rustling leaf, sent their hearts racing, a chilling reminder of the malevolent force they had encountered. They tried to return to normalcy, but the legend of the will-o'-the-wisps clung to them like a second skin, its whispers a constant, unnerving presence. Conversations turned somber, laughter scarce, as the forest's dark secrets continued to haunt their waking moments. They knew they had escaped, but the fear lingered, an ever-present shadow that stretched beyond the forest's edge, reaching into their lives and reminding them that some legends are terrifyingly real. The hikers stood at the edge of the witch's forest, excitement sparking in their eyes, yet tempered by an undercurrent of trepidation. The dense woods stretched before them, ancient trees casting long, dark shadows that seemed to beckon them into the depths. With a mixture of eagerness and caution, they stepped into the forest, their surroundings swallowing them almost immediately. Whispering winds greeted them, rustling leaves with voices that seemed to speak directly to each of them. The air grew colder, the whispers more insistent, as if sharing secrets of the past. Eerie symbols, carved into the bark of ancient trees, caught their attention, strange markings that hinted at dark rituals long forgotten. As they ventured deeper, an unsettling feeling crept over them. Unexplained shadows flitted at the edges of their vision, elusive and disconcerting. Each step forward seemed to draw the shadows closer, wrapping the group in an atmosphere thick with unseen dread. The hikers exchanged uneasy glances, the thrill of exploration now mingled with a creeping fear, as they realized they had truly stepped into a place of dark, unrelenting mystery. Venturing deeper into the heart of the forest, the hikers felt a palpable shift. The air grew thicker, the trees closing in like a tightening noose. The forest's malevolent presence became undeniable, its ancient power seeping into their bones. Every step forward was met with a sense of foreboding, as if the very ground beneath them resented their intrusion. Strange occurrences escalated quickly. Phantom footsteps echoed through the underbrush, each snap of a twig sending shivers down their spines. Ghostly figures flickered in their peripheral vision, vanishing the moment they turned to look. The paths twisted and changed, disorienting them further, as if the forest itself was conspiring to keep them trapped. Panic set in as the realization dawned, they were hopelessly lost. The forest seemed to come alive, its twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The oppressive silence was broken only by the eerie whisper of the wind and the pounding of their own hearts. The hikers exchanged fearful glances, their excitement now replaced by a chilling dread, as they understood they were at the mercy of the witch's forest. The forest's malevolence tightened its grip, forcing each hiker to confront their darkest fears. The curse manifested as horrifying visions unique to each of them. One saw the ghostly figure of a lost loved one, their face twisted in torment. Another was surrounded by crawling insects, their skittering legs echoing in the silence. Another faced an unending darkness that whispered their deepest insecurities. The malevolent spirit of the witch made her presence known, a shadowy figure hovering just beyond their reach. Her ethereal whispers grew louder, feeding off their terror and despair. She seemed to relish their suffering, her laughter a chilling sound that reverberated through the trees. Desperation set in as the hikers struggled to stay together, their sanity fraying under the relentless psychological assault. Each step became a battle against their own minds, the forest amplifying their fears. The once cohesive group now found themselves on the brink of collapse, their only hope to break the curse that held them in its deadly embrace. Desperation sparked determination as the hikers delved into the dark lore of the witch's past. By piecing together cryptic clues found etched into trees and whispered by the winds, they uncovered the tragic story of the witch's execution, an innocent woman, condemned and cursed to haunt the forest for eternity. Sympathy and fear mingled as they realized the gravity of their situation. Their search led them to an ancient grimoire, hidden in the hollow of an old, gnarled tree. The grimoire detailed a ritual that could break the curse, but it demanded immense courage and a heart-wrenching sacrifice. With time slipping away and the witch's malevolent spirit growing more aggressive, they had no choice but to proceed. Hastily, they gathered the ritual's components, rare herbs, sacred relics, and the blood of the willing. The forest seemed to fight back, shadows lengthening and whispers growing louder. The hikers moved with purpose, their hearts pounding as they prepared for the ritual. They knew that the witch's spirit would not let them break the curse without a final, harrowing confrontation. With trembling hands and racing hearts, the hikers began the ritual. The forest grew darker, the air thick with a malevolent energy that pressed down on them. They chanted the ancient words, each syllable a battle against their own fear. The witch's spirit responded with fury, the shadows around them twisting into grotesque forms. As the ritual reached its peak, the malevolent spirit of the witch attacked. Her ethereal form lunged at them, a chilling scream echoing through the trees. The hikers fought back with their dwindling strength, using the sacred relics to fend off her onslaught. The forest itself seemed to shake with rage, the ground trembling beneath their feet. In a climactic showdown, they faced the witch's spirit head-on, their courage shining through the darkness. The final incantation was uttered, and a blinding light erupted from the ritual circle, engulfing the malevolent spirit. Her screams faded into the night, the curse breaking with a deafening silence. The forest released its grip, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. The witch's spirit was finally laid to rest, her tragic story coming to a peaceful end. The hikers, though battered and exhausted, felt an immense relief wash over them. They had broken the curse and survived the horrors of the witch's forest. The forest's grip loosened, the oppressive darkness lifting as dawn broke on the horizon. The hikers, physically and mentally exhausted, stumbled out of the witch's forest, their breaths ragged and their bodies trembling. Relief washed over them, but it was tainted by the horrors they had witnessed. The malevolent spirit of the witch was laid to rest, yet her presence lingered in their minds. They had escaped, but the forest had marked them. Each shadow seemed to hide a threat, every whisper of the wind reminder of the sinister voice that had tormented them. Nights were plagued with nightmares, vivid and relentless, pulling them back into the twisted embrace of the witch's forest. The legend of the witch's forest continued to haunt them, a chilling reminder of the dark secrets they had uncovered. The hikers were forever changed, their once carefree spirits now burdened by the weight of their ordeal. The forest's curse may have been broken, but its echoes would remain with them always, a sinister presence lurking just at the edge of their memories. The forest seemed to part just enough to reveal the hidden trail, a narrow path shrouded in shadows and ancient trees. The urban explorers, a mix of seasoned adventurers and eager novices, felt a ripple of excitement tempered by an undercurrent of apprehension. Each step they took echoed with the promise of discovery and the whisper of old secrets long buried. As they emerged from the dense foliage, the abandoned village lay before them, eerily preserved. The stillness was palpable, as if time itself had paused in reverence. Meals sat on tables, untouched and spoiled, tools lay where they had been dropped, mid-use, and the air hung heavy with a haunting stillness. The village, once thriving, now stood as a ghostly relic, a snapshot of a moment frozen in time. The explorers exchanged uneasy glances, the thrill of the unknown mingling with a growing sense of dread. They had stepped into a place where history and the supernatural intertwined, a place where every shadow seemed to whisper of the past. The silence of the village was soon broken by a chorus of whispers, disembodied voices threading through the trees. The explorers froze, straining to catch the faint, fragmented words. The atmosphere thickened with an unsettling tension, as if the very air conspired to amplify their fear. Phantom footsteps began to echo around them, the sound unmistakable yet impossible to source. Each step felt like an intrusion into their minds, heightening their sense of dread. The explorers' eyes darted nervously, seeking the source of the sound in the twisted shadows of the abandoned village. Glimpses of ghostly figures flickered in the periphery of their vision. Ethereal shapes of villagers appeared and vanished like mirages, hinting at the supernatural forces at play. The explorers were not alone, and the realization sent shivers down their spines. The village was a spectral echo of its past, replaying the final moments of its inhabitants in an endless, haunting loop. The forest, once a silent witness to the village's secrets, now seemed to come alive with a sinister intent. Paths that had appeared clear twisted and shifted, leading the explorers in bewildering circles. Trees bent in unnatural ways, their branches clawing at the sky as if in warning. The atmosphere grew heavy, oppressive, resisting every step they took deeper into its heart. Unnerving experiences began to compound. Lights flickered in the corners of their eyes, and a low, ominous hum vibrated through the ground. Shadows moved with a life of their own, slipping through the trees and whispering threats only the subconscious could grasp. The explorers' nerves frayed under the constant psychological pressure, the feeling of being watched and followed intensifying with each passing moment. A cold dread seeped into their bones. The forest was not merely indifferent, it was hostile, a labyrinth designed to ensnare them. Every rustle, every creak of ancient wood felt like the prelude to some unseen terror. The explorers realized they were intruders in a place that did not welcome them, and the forest's dark history would not let them leave unscathed. The eerie stillness of the village started to unravel a terrible truth. The explorers noticed patterns, ghostly figures replaying the same actions, the same haunting rituals. Meals left uneaten, tools mid-use, and disembodied voices whispering through the trees were not random anomalies but echoes of a single, dreadful day. The spirits of the villagers were trapped, eternally reliving their final moments. Panic set in as the explorers grasped the horror of their situation. Desperate to escape the supernatural loop, they turned their attention to the village's history, scouring through abandoned homes and dust-covered books. Hidden among the relics of the past, they uncovered clues, fragments of a tragic story that spoke of betrayal, curses, and an ancient evil that had descended upon the village. The air grew thicker, the atmosphere more oppressive, as the forest seemed to react to their discoveries. Shadows lengthened, and the sense of being watched intensified. The explorers knew they had to piece together the village's dark past and find the key to breaking the loop, or risk being consumed by the same fate as the villagers. Desperation ignited a spark of determination among the explorers. They knew the key to their escape lay in unraveling the village's tragic history. Sifting through crumbling documents and dust-covered relics, they pieced together a tale of betrayal and dark magic. The villagers had once thrived, but an ancient curse, born from a catastrophic event, had sealed their fate. The deeper they delved, the more sinister the story became. They discovered that the village had been cursed by a powerful sorcerer, vengeful and enraged, condemning the souls to an eternal loop. The explorers' unease grew with every revelation, the forest around them seeming to pulse with malevolent energy. Their quest led them to hidden relics, ancient artifacts imbued with dark power. They relied on local legends, whispers of a ritual that might break the loop. Time was running out, and the forest's resistance grew stronger, but the explorers pressed on. The weight of the villagers' plight pressed heavily on their shoulders as they prepared to confront the supernatural forces that bound the village in its relentless grip. The air crackled with an electric tension as the explorers gathered in the village square, the ancient relics laid out before them. The whispers of the ghostly villagers grew louder, a cacophony of voices filled with desperate urgency. Shadows writhed and twisted in the flickering torchlight, the forest closing in around them as if to witness the final act. With trembling hands, they began the ritual, each word of the incantation a battle against the dark forces that bound the village. The ground beneath them seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, the very air heavy with the weight of centuries-old sorrow. The ghostly figures of the villagers appeared, their faces etched with torment, as if begging for release. As the ritual reached its climax, a deafening roar filled the air. The malevolent spirit that had cursed the village materialized, its form a swirling mass of shadow and fury. The explorers stood their ground, invoking the final part of the ritual with a courage born of desperation. A blinding light erupted from the relics, engulfing the spirit in its radiance. In that moment, the loop shattered. The ghostly figures of the villagers faded into the light, their expressions softening into peaceful relief. The forest fell silent, the oppressive darkness lifting as the curse was lifted. The explorers, exhausted but triumphant, knew they had broken the cycle and freed the spirits from their eternal torment. With the curse broken, the oppressive darkness lifted, and the village released its ghostly grip. The explorers, physically and mentally shattered, stumbled back through the forest. Each step felt like a battle, their bodies heavy with exhaustion and their minds reeling from the ordeal. The forest, once a malevolent maze, now seemed to part grudgingly, allowing them a narrow path to freedom. They emerged into the light of dawn, the world beyond the trees a stark contrast to the supernatural horrors they had faced. Relief mingled with an enduring unease as they made their way to safety. The village and its tragic history had etched themselves deeply into their memories, leaving scars that would never fully heal. Haunted by visions of ghostly villagers and the echoing whispers of the past, the explorers knew they were forever changed. The legend of the abandoned village loomed large in their minds, a chilling reminder of the dark secrets they had uncovered. Despite their escape, the fear lingered, a shadow that would follow them long after they had left the haunted forest behind.